We are here in LA for the Super Bowl. I'm here with longtime host Trey Wingo, who is now the chief trends ambassador.
Trends officer and brand ambassador. It's a mouthful. Shout out to Allie Bronson. Allie, what's happening? Hope you're doing well.
Hi, Allie. We have a great matchup this week. We got Rams, we got Bengals. Yeah. We also have great ways to bet. So 2,000 ways to bet on the Super Bowl with Caesars.
All kinds of prop bets. Everything from first touchdown, coin toss. Will there be a defensive player score? It's only happened twice in NFL history. So that was one of the first real exotic prop bets in Caesars Palace history. They bet on the fridge to score, and he did in the third quarter. And to Mike Ditka's undying shame, Walter Payton did not score in Super Bowl 20.
And you, because you have moved away from the beast at ESPN, I would assume have a little bit more freedom to do some of this stuff.
I have freedom. Freedom is a wonderful thing. It's wonderful. And the funny thing about this, working with the folks at Caesars, a lot of the people that I work with at Caesars now I used to work with at ESPN. So some that are here and some that are back in Vegas. So for me, it's basically doing the same stuff I always did, just doing it with a different place with familiar faces.
What was Super Bowl week like for you in your other life?
Hectic. You know, I mean, whether it was getting up super early to come do the radio show from 6 to 10 or 5 to 9 when we're in Central Time, or God forbid, 4 to 8, you know, that was difficult. But we did NFL Live every day, and you know, all the stuff and post-game and pre-game Super Bowl stuff. So it's all really the same. We're just sort of maneuvering around in a different platform.
There has been a lot of discussion this week with Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford. The quarterbacks always get the love, but it does seem apt in this game because the Rams go, quote unquote, all in for Matthew Stafford, and then we have Joe Burrow, who is evolving right in front of our faces. Yeah. It seems like, I don't know if you believe in the it, but whatever that is, it seems like he has it.
I'm glad you said that, because I just wrote something for not to cross promote, but I wrote something for Facebook about that. But one of the things that was great about doing the draft every year, that man right there, Jim Carr, was my chief researcher for the draft. And he was also the chief researcher for Monday Night Football, so I'm happy to be working with him again. And we came across these great nuggets, Jim would. And I remembered this, and Jim sent this to me. This was an evaluation of Joe Burrow when he was 9 years old. Now, I want you to listen to this, seriously. Burrow played on a travel AAU basketball team, and one game, his team was down by 8 points with 30 seconds to left. His coach said, Tom Vanderven said, "We thought it was over, but then Burrow took over, scoring 9 consecutive points, including 7 straight foul shots. I'd never seen anything like it. It was then that I knew he was different from everyone else. I couldn't believe the poise under pressure he had of a 9-year-old. Vanderven is a professor of sociology at Ohio University. After the game, I told his parents that Joe had the kind of qualities that you'd find in cops and first responders, and also serial offenders. He has the kind of qualities that people have, where his pulse probably doesn't change no matter the situation he finds himself in, whether he's mowing the lawn or pulling people from a fire." So Joe could either be Dexter or a really good quarterback. So thank God he's using his powers for good and not evil.
Well, he had to pull the Bengals from the jaws of a fire in the second half against Kansas City, and he did Correct. It against Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, pretty remarkable in what we've seen in just his second year.
Yeah, well, I've been very consistent about one thing all year, from week 1 to now. The only team that can beat the Chiefs would be the Chiefs, and they certainly beat themselves in that game. But that's Burrow's quality. If you give him an opportunity, he'll take it. Like, look at the divisional game against the Titans. He was sacked 9 times. And it was a low-scoring game, and Ryan Tannehill had the ball with a minute something to play to maybe potential game-winning points. Instead, he throws a tip ball that's intercepted, and Burrow says, "Fine, I'll take it," makes the one throw he needs to make. The sideline route, past the corner, in front of the safety, that sets up money back for a 52-yard field goal to win the game. So he's never going to be the most stats-driven guy. I mean, even though he threw for 4,600 yards and 34 touchdowns, he's the guy that can make it not work for 3.5 quarters, but if you give him that opportunity, he'll take it in the fourth quarter.
As we look at some of these props for the game, anything stand out to you in terms of what you might like here?
Well, we haven't had a safety since Super Bowl 48. That was the first snap of the game for Peyton when the center snapped it over his head, and Noshawn Marino had to cover it up in the end zone. And this is the longest stretch we've gone without a safety in Super Bowl history. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, maybe betting on the idea that a safety is scored might be a good one.
You're probably getting some nice long odds on that too. There's a lot of stuff on this that I like. were you ever the kind of person that's like, I'm going to bet on the coin toss?
Oh, yeah. But actually, that is the most voluminous 2 seconds in sports betting every year.
Yes.
On the coin toss.
Yes.
And no surprise, it's heads plus 100, tails plus 100.
Yeah.
Although, what is it, Jimmy, is it 29-26? Tails has been in favor of it, and we're on a run now.
So tails sometimes fails.
Tails sometimes fails, yes. And also, I think the last 7 guys who called tails have all lost. Isn't that what it is? Yeah. So they won the toss. They won the toss and lost the game. Yeah.
All right, so good for bettors,
Yeah.
bad for the players.
Correct.
Which bettors don't really care about.
Also true.
Maybe you could fade the team that you think is going to win the coin toss.
Correct.
A lot of good stuff there. When you look at the outcome of the game,
Yeah.
you don't have to make a pick, but
Yeah.
if you want to, you can. What is the thing that you think? Okay, if this happens, Team X wins.
Listen, the best way I can describe it, I've been thinking about this a lot, is that the Rams know the weight of not winning.
Yeah.
They've been here 4 years ago, a lot of those players, and lost. Matthew Stafford has waited his entire career to get to this stage. He knows how hard it is. The Bengals know none of that.
Right.
They know none of that. All they know is we win. And they're all young, and sometimes it's better to not know than to know.
Yeah.
They are playing like on Madden easy mode. And the Rams are a better team.
Yeah.
They're a better team. But this Bengals squad doesn't know any better. And sometimes that can be a powerful thing, a powerful force. Because if Sean McVay starts thinking about, well, I was here again last time and we messed it up. And, Aaron Donald thinks about that time he busted through the gap and Sony Michel hit him for a 45-yard gain that set up the only touchdown in that game. If they start thinking about that, it's problematic for the Rams. The Bengals are not thinking. They do not care.
Yeah. We're here at Trey Wingo Radio Row in Los Angeles. A lot more fun to have.
Yeah.
The coaching carousel
Yeah.
is coming to a close with its spinning, but
Yeah.
it spun in a lot of ways this year that we did not predict.
9 openings.
And
9.
And the Brian Flores lawsuit looms over all of this.
Correct.
What do you think the chances are we see meaningful change when it comes to NFL hiring practices there?
Well,
At least in the short term.
yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one. Like the whole Lovie Smith thing. Let's just take that for an example. He was asked at his introductory press conference yesterday, "When did you know you were a candidate?" He said, "Honestly, I'm not sure." And I think the answer to that is they really wanted to hire Josh McCown, but they knew that would look really bad.
Yeah.
So they decided to go another route. I've said this for years. The Texans should be relegated. Like, they are a disastrous franchise. I mean, just look at what they've done over the last few years. They traded away DeAndre Hopkins for a broken running back and a ball of wax. They let J.J. Watt walk. They did not play their quarterback for understandable reasons all year, then told their coach, go get him, and then they make him last less than a calendar year. Listen, I don't know if Brian Flores is ever going to coach again, and I think he's okay with that. I think Brian Flores is willing to be the Curt Flood of NFL coaches. And that's the analogy. A lot of people use another one. To me, that's the analogy that I've come up with. Curt Flood, for those that don't know, challenged the reserve clause in baseball when he was traded from the Cardinals to the Phillies, didn't want to go, fought it all the way to the Supreme Court. They lost the case, but eventually it opened up free agency for everybody. And I'm hopeful that if Brian Flores is willing to throw away his career, we will see meaningful change, but it doesn't start from here up. It has to start from the top down. And when we don't have changes in leadership who are looking at the way we do the hiring, I don't know if it's ever going to change. Yeah. So I don't know if we can build from the bottom. We have to dig down from the top.
There are 30 teams not here.
Yeah.
Most of them pretty upset that they're not here. Some of them pretty happy to be picking at the top of the draft instead.
Yeah.
But the big offseason story is going to be what happens with Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And you were
just like last year.
Yeah, exactly. But we didn't know that this time last year.
Yes.
We did not really know, or at least publicly know, that there was this tension behind the scenes. Aaron Rodgers says things have gotten better, but we still don't know what his future is. After having had some information last year, some inside info on what was going on there, what is your feeling about where they stand right now?
My feeling is that I think that Aaron Rodgers has played his last game as a Green Bay Packer. And the weird part about it is I think the Packers are okay with that. I really believe that. I mean, Andrew Brandt is a friend of mine who, of course, worked for the Packers organization for many years, and he's been saying this forever. The idea was to have Aaron Rodgers play 2 more years and then move Jordan Love in. And it certainly seems like that's the way things are headed. My only question to the Packers is, really, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? Like, it's worked once from Favre to Rodgers, but the idea that the Packers only made it to one Super Bowl if he's played his last game, and I'm including Aaron Rodgers in the statement when I say this, it is an organizational failure of the highest magnitude with a guy who is Mount Rushmore type level quarterback.
Yeah.
First ballot, surefire Hall of Famer. You could argue top 5 all time. And you guys made it to one Super Bowl. That's a failure. I mean, you made it to 2 with Favre, who was throwing interceptions left and right. I mean, like, you lost an NFC championship or divisional round playoff game against the Rams because he threw 6 interceptions in one game.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's supposed to be so risk averse and all that kind of stuff. But if he has played his last game, everyone in that organization, including Aaron, because he hasn't played well in a lot of those playoff games, has to say, how did we mess this up? Because you had a generational quarterback since 2008, and you got there once as a wild card.
The team has said we want him back. The president, Mark Murphy, recently said we want him back, and that the organization is aligned on that. But there is also a difference between saying we want him back and we want him back at a cost. There is always a cost associated with those comments.
Right. Well, it's like when someone says, no, he's our guy. It's easy to say that in May. It's
Right.
harder to say that in October. Right. Like when all these when Trey Lance was drafted and the Niners moved up all those picks to get him, Jimmy G's our guy. For now.
Yeah.
Like there's always a hanging participle on those sentences, right? You say that now because it's in your best interest.
Right.
That doesn't mean it might change. Listen, I think they'd be crazy to try not to make it work, but I don't know if they can make it work.
If he says, okay, this is not working out, I think everyone would feel better if we moved on. And I was frankly shocked how fast fans after the loss were just sort of like, at a certain point, what are we supposed to do? Because they feel like you do, that they should have won more in all this time.
Correct.
So let's say Green Bay says, okay, we'll move you. What makes sense for each side? Is there a move that does make sense for each side?
Well, obviously, a lot of people will look at the Denver hire of Nathaniel Hackett. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, I mean, and everyone's a competitor. Do you really want to go to a division where Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes are there, and Derek Carr's playing pretty damn well? I mean, if he does go to Denver, that's automatically the best quarterback division by a mile.
Yeah,
and
one of the best we'd ever had.
Yes, and I don't think it's going to be that easy for him. Now, granted, Denver has a good defense and they have some weapons. They're going to have to give up some of that if they're getting Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know. Like, suddenly Tampa Bay is interesting.
Yeah,
right. That's interesting. New Orleans might be interesting. I think suddenly there are a lot more.
Don't say that too loud. Ross Jackson might hear you. Host of Locked On Saints.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later. So there's all kinds of possibilities. But so the Denver thing, I think people are trying to put 2 and 2 together, but sometimes that doesn't make 4; it makes 5 or 6. So if I were Aaron, I'd maybe think about looking at some of those other scenarios.
The other domino there is Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So what I've been saying is, there is the easy line to draw. Okay, well, Denver could just trade for both of them. I think there's just too much. We've never even seen a deal like that.
Yeah,
that's Madden
yes,
stuff. Yes,
and we'll take all the cheese.
Yeah.
And and all the
beer at the Miller Lite production
all the spotted
factory.
cow.
And,
we'll take all of that. Yeah.
I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But a team like Las Vegas, reunite him with Derek Carr. That could make some sense there too. Is there a move out there that maybe we're not putting enough attention on? Because to me, it's Russell Wilson, but we didn't even know this time last year that Aaron Rodgers could be out there.
Think about it. Like what you just said is really interesting, right? We all know how important the quarterback play is in the NFL. If you don't have a dude, you don't have a chance. Like the Titans Bengals game. Ryan Tannehill's a guy, Burrow's a dude.
Yeah.
We could have Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson for a variety of different reasons all change teams this offseason. Might be the wildest quarterback offseason we've ever had.
And Kirk Cousins is just like, why not me?
Exactly. Well, I have a variety of reasons. They're threefold.
Trey, this was great, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
Pete, anytime, brother. Shout out Allie Bronson. Let's go.